to another Meet the Consultant or Meet Your Consultant for our summer programming, both for our high school 4-week, that's for both LD and policy, and our 10-day college program that runs from July 27th to August 5th. And I don't know if I said the dates for the 4-week, I'll say it now, is July 1st through the 29th. So I'm going to introduce someone who I'm super excited to be bringing on as a staff member on the DB team. And you probably know who, Greg Zoda is if you've read any card in debate. And we're like, whoa, that's a great card. And you saw the GZ insignia. That's because Greg Zoda right here is the one who did it. So welcome, Greg. I'm super excited to be doing this interview, sharing with both the high school and college community more about you and what you are bringing to the DB team for the summer. The first is your personal debater credentials. Can be high school, college, maybe talking a little bit about both in terms of competitor successes, both in terms of, the things, but also in terms of maybe moments where growth occurred.
So I started debate in 2010 in a relatively small, now doesn't have a program, school called Bishop Guertin. When I first got there were no seniors. Me and the other people in my class kind of took the next 4 years and built back the program into a multiple TOC qualifying institution. From there I went on to debate for 5 years at Baylor University. I qualified for the NDT 4 times, and I got to the Octos in 2018 with Andrew Barron, and the Double Octos in 2019 with Jonas Thrasher Evans. So that was the kind of crescendo of my career. Throughout most of that, I have been predominantly a researcher as one of my main roles on the team. I like Jasmine said, I've got quite a bit of cards, less so more recently, but still have quite a lot of the skills. Some of it is small other things that random I don't know if I want to go through random speaker words. If you want me to, I can.
Give us a few highlights.
Fourth speaker and octofinalist at GSU in 2018, second speaker at Gonzaga in 2017, first speaker, first seed in semifinals at Weber in 2017, got to quarters of Wake once. Always had not the most deep elim success, but a lot of really good early prelim success, a lot of good speaking stuff. That's kind of my career. I, as a content-wise, was always more of a critical debater. Flex in early high school, a lot of security case stuff. Getting into college, a lot more critical race theory, Black studies, decolonial theory, and just post-structuralist stuff. That's basically the debating part of my career.
I cannot stress enough, y'all, that Greg is just a very smart person. When you're just around people that are smart and you're like, wow, to know that many things is great. That is something that I think is just great about you. My vocabulary is reduced right now. But really awesome in terms of working with someone, because I think that just the amount that you have parsed through in terms of content, like you said, you're a researcher, the success that you've had in understanding the kind of game mechanisms of debate is a utility to any student. I think also part of our staff, we're always learning from each other. And so I am personally excited to learn, from you and the things that you will bring for the students and for all of us, especially our college folks, because that's more of all of us kind of working together and being like, all right, we're all grown, so let's work on these things. So we'll get to number 2. So this is more so shifting to coaching credentials. So this would be schools that you've worked with, the type of debaters that they were in terms of arguments, and any successes that they experienced while working with you.
So I have predominantly worked with critical teams in the past, but a decent amount of flexibility as well. In college, I've exclusively worked with Baylor for the last 2 years, and we did pretty well. The first year that I was coaching was the year that Baylor RW, Alec and Elon managed to get Baylor's first round in a number of years. I think like 7 or 8 or something like that. So that was really exciting. This year was much more of a rebuilding year, but a lot of the focus was on trying to coordinate file production and consolidation from previous years. Some of the other successes I've had in high school coaching, I worked with one of the first teams I worked with was Edgemont, Vikram and Allen in 2015, the year that they were the first seed at the TOC, and tragically lost in Octos because they lost the flip and couldn't go for the next strat I wrote. The year after that, I worked with Roland Hall when they got to the quarterfinals. Both of their debaters got speaker awards. The year I took a little bit of a hiatus. I went into LD land a little bit and coached Morrison Academy and coached the first non-US national to qualify for the TOC. He qualified in LD, which was really cool. That was awesome. So I worked with them for 2 years, and that was an interesting experience just with the working across the number of oceans. Then I've also taught at the Baylor Workshop for 6 consecutive summers. And then most recently, I've worked with North Broward, including DR this year, the team that won the Baker Award. Less so with GG, but a little bit as well, which is where I've gotten some of the policy experience as well. DR got to quarters this year. That was really exciting. I am definitely not the only reason for that, or even like a primary contributing one, but I was glad to be able to help. I've had a lot of privilege to work with a ton of successful teams, but really interested in debaters no matter the level of success.
That's awesome. You spoke for yourself on that one. And that question that I said I was going to ask you, I'm going to actually, I think the educator question makes sense to ask it. So we'll hop into number 3, which is, as an educator, the way in which you teach, the way that you approach coaching, debate styles of arguments that you have worked on, areas of expertise. The addendum that I wanted to add here is that for students who are watching this, programs that are watching this and are wondering, does my student have to be a critical debater to work with Greg, right? Like, is that the only way in which they thrive? What if they're more policy leaning? Like, what do you add into that, prep room? Just to make sure that we tap onto that, because I think that it's important to, acknowledge, speak to, because I know that is something that some folks bank their decisions for programs off of.
Yeah. So my pedagogical model is, I think, like a lot of people, very student-centered. So I've always kind of gone with the winds or with the direction of where the students I've worked with have kind of been comfortable with. But I'm also always fine sharing some of the stuff that I've done myself in order to give people new ideas or bring new inspiration. But besides just being like content or student-centered, I think that something I emphasize is kind of a much more collaborative student-teacher relationship. I have never really been comfortable with the coaches writing blocks, debaters reading them kind of model. I'm much more wanting to, get people invested in the same types of literature and research that is relevant for their topic, such that I'm not just cutting their 1AC, such that they're just as familiar with the authorship, with the examples that they're using, with the form of organization and advocacy that they're affirming, as I would be. So I am very much like when writing an affirmative, team should, it should be like a big 3 or 4 person process, not just someone sitting in a room researching on their own. And that's kind of how I approach a lot of different stuff. So with regards to the question about policy stuff, I have always been a secret policy hack in a couple ways. Yeah, it depends. I mean, like, so, never went for framework while I was a debater, but at the same time, when I did flex and policy stuff, I was definitely the like speedy 8 off and 4 minutes of pace type of debater. I do my best to try to these days integrate a lot of my personal political interests into crafting unique kind of flex forms of policy argumentation. So for example, for this most recent TOC, one of the arguments that we had unbroken was a dissat, a very like high-tech dissat about the Boston mayoral race that I wrote on my own. And it's just about the Green New Deal, about why that race is key to a number of criminal justice victories, as well as housing advocacy victories. It's kind of just like, okay, here's how we can use a combination of big stick impacts with more structural violence, other forms of evaluation. So that's something that I can, very much contribute. I've also wrote an Anchorage mayoral election dissat. I can probably tell you about the political makeup of most states and/or, every political fight in Congress. I follow that stuff really closely, actually. So I would say that in terms of, I'm probably one of the most politically savvy non-politics dissad writers in the community, and that could certainly change to being, politics dissad writer at some point.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes, and I think that especially given that it's a water topic and some more domestic, and that the college topic is also going to be a domestic one, that the kind of impact level of things, this kind of structural violence versus existential risk framing business it's always the debate, let's be honest. But I think that for students who really want to be creative and figure out how to combine the things, that this is, I think, one of the best kind of folks to listen to about how to get niche arguments. Because that's annoying. From a debater perspective, debating that, it's like, okay, so...
There was a version to write against K-teams too. We had that.
I'm sure. I am so sure, and that's annoying. But from a negative perspective to in perspective, we love that. So I'm very interested, especially, I keep on saying for the college folks, the high school folks, this is going to be great and fun too, but for our college folks who have been more time in the game, like, I'm interested, Greg, with what a combination of the two of us kind of like, all right, so how can we make this work and make sense in very interesting ways? Because I think I've also shifted in the world of like sneaky, interesting disads that maybe are framework, maybe aren't framework, but also, who knows? We're gonna figure that out together. So I'm super excited.
We need engagement, or else the wrong mayor will win.
Or else the world will freaking collapse. F causes it. So number 4, and you've already kind of answered some of this, so we don't have to go too deep into it, but the type of students that benefit from your teaching style. So answer this more so in the context of like type of learning. So yeah, if that already is a springboard for you, then yeah, in terms
makes
of
sense. Yeah. So I think any student that either A, already does their own participatory research and like enjoys reading things but just doesn't know where to go is like the perfect student for me. Because I have an infinite number of links and not the time to process them. A second, but alternatively, students that so far don't cut a lot of cards and are way more, invested in just like learning about things more passively and then converting that into argumentation. I can also work with those types of students a lot, both because A, I have a lot of backfiles that like can function in that way, even if I'm not like writing blocks or anything like that. And B is that a lot of the time, those students end up being the ones who are really looking for material examples or looking for movements in real life that they can link up with. And that is something that I uniquely, this year am looking to cultivate, and I'm looking to work with students on.
Yes, and cannot stress it enough. The people who are still watching this, and I'm probably going to do different splicing and stuff. to highlight really important moments, but this, from like a judge perspective of listening to all the critiques in the world, and this is to both the app and neg, but I'm talking to neg right now, to the more performative style negative, to the negative that has all the cards in America to say all the interesting things for why the world is messed up. Examples are detrimental to a negative strategy in terms of you not having them. Some judges, they just are not going to put those connections together the way that you need because they don't see it. It's not material enough for them. And it's devastating for an affirmative because now they have to respond a bit more to the example and the contextualization than this like overarching theory. Because it's like, well, no, we've made it material. The judge now gets it. And you've not responded to why we have this historical analysis that not even just historical, probably current stuff, right? Greg, that you're looking at too, that the AF's kind of, but the perm and the AF outweighs. The AF seems a bit more now theoretical than what the negative brings up. So I just wanted to stress how important and needed of that kind of coaching, but also just viewpoint to debate is, and how devastating it can be if you really just take the time to get that. So once again, very excited to learn from Greg because that is definitely something that I'm interested in upping myself on a coaching perspective this upcoming next 6 months in preparation for the next season. So number 5, and it's the last one, and that is why you, and specifically why you in working with Debate Boutique as a best option. So this is a question for like, of all the options that students have, you know, to go to this summer, why working with Debate Boutique? And then, you know, moments of you in Debate Boutique is something that they should very much so consider to do.
Yeah, so people come to debate with a lot of different motivations. Some are in it entirely to win. Some are just fascinated with the research aspect. Others want to use this as a springboard for a career or to make a change in their community. I think that, you know, all 4 of those kind of positions is something that would direct one to a place like Debate Boutique and the type of curriculum that I'm advocating for, because how do you win more? You identify with a lot of the specific examples, you put praxis into your theory and are able to, you know, kind of more easily push off a lot of the people who are only making theoretical arguments. You probably gain a lot of skills about not only the types of theory that we're going to be reading, but also like the very on the ground material examples about just like current organizing, campaigns, current political efforts. You know, no matter what your kind of end goal is, be it skills, W's, or something, or just like knowledge for its own sake, I think that a type of curriculum that focuses on connecting the inside of debate walls to outside organizing, to a number of current conversations, you know, maybe surrounding things like water infrastructure, surrounding things like defense of like sacred water places for those that are involved in indigenous organizing, like lead pipe removal. Like there's tons of stuff that is currently a way of grounding your way of debating, making it more material, which also makes you more successful. So I think that if you want to be a successful debater, a well-knowledged debater, a debater with a good resume, or a debater making a difference in the world, that this is the right choice regardless.
And that's all she wrote, y'all. So thank you so much, Greg, for taking some time out of your day to do this. I love being able to do these interviews. I think that students actually benefit from getting an idea of who do I want to work with, who speaks to me, because who I speak to is very different than who you speak to. And it's good for students to know that ahead of time so that they can, you know, make a very well-rounded decision, and not just based off of like, I think that they won a tournament, or I think that, you know, they got a bid, so they're clearly the best coach for me. So let's go out here. And getting to hear that we're human people that have thoughts and want to engage with you. So thank you so much. And when y'all see this, hello, debate fatigue. It's going to be a freaking awesome time. It's going to be great. So peace out, y'all.